they want. But Rona will be a solid pick here. Rona, Blackfeather is the dual comp that is just so Blackfeather and Weapon Rona, and then you ended with a Fortress, which is actually the same comp that Kraken ran yesterday and beat their opponents G2 very well.
I still expect an Arden pick here, Impunity, so that they can save the last pick for a counter one. I mean, they did run, but we saw the Fortress as well being played, but it is going to be the Arden. Like I was saying, at this point, their draft is still very flexible. They're leaving Kraken questioning and asking, is this Blackfeather going to go to lane? Is it going to go to the jungle? Right. And they have to guess.
And that's one of the biggest strengths that you can have in a draft on B side especially, is that question of where exactly is their composition going to go. There is not really an answer that Kraken can have. They have to try and guess at where they think Impunity is going to run, but Impunity can just answer what they do.
What looks good for Kraken is Rona Baptiste. It will be pretty good here because they just need to lock down whatever carry that they decide to pick. It could be a Vox or whatever else in lane once a Rona is picked up here. And Kraken is playing Rona very efficiently. So with this being open now, they could either go with Baptiste or Reza, but I think Baptiste or Samuel would make the most sense here.
Alpha would be perfect right here. It's a composition we saw a lot of back in 2.9, as I was saying. Rona, Alpha, and the Lyra, but Petal instead. I mean, that's a very strong hero that plays against the Blackfeather if he is weapon power, and even if he isn't, it synergizes well with Rona, because when she goes in, you follow up with the damage and the ultimate from Petal that deals damage at the same time as heals your front line.
Yeah, this is just going to be keeping this Rona alive for so long. You know, back before Poison Shiv was a thing, we saw so many double heal compositions with Rona. This is kind of just a variation of that with a little bit more options. The Vox, I like the pick for the Vox because you go for the Poison Shiv on him. You're able to apply the Mortal Wounds very quickly. Mortal Wounds are crucial in this matchup.
Yeah, for sure. And Vox can dance around the Rona. Blackfeather can just poke for days. So Rona and Petal have to dive onto the Vox for him to win a lot of fights. And you have Arden to peel with the Gauntlet as well.
Well, we have our drafts locked in, gentlemen. We have our picks on in. It's one apiece in the series. Who is going to be taking game number 3 here? Sweej, we'll start with you.
Oh, man. Let's make sure this is not a 3 deaths. So let's go. I'm going to go with Kraken here because they're so good with Rona.
All right, Tasty Bacon.
I like the draft from Kraken better, but I've voted for the draft I think is better each game, so I'm going Impunity here in game number 3.
I was going to say, Kraken had the stronger early game and mid game composition in the first game, and they did not execute on it. For that reason, I'm going to go with Impunity because they have the better late game stage composition.
All right, 2-1 towards Impunity. We'll see if they can turn the score into 2-1 as well. It's time to pass this one up to the casters and get into game number 3 of this best of 5.
Thanks, guys. And finally, Scoundrel, one person, or maybe 2 people on the desk are going to be correct. Finally, we've got a split desk going. I like Sweej pulling out and go, okay, all right, I'm going to be the hero here. I'm going to pick something else. You guys can pick Impunity.
Kraken are very good with Rona. He is completely correct. I think this is going to be tough. I think both of these teams shown they can swing punches. Both of these teams seem pretty equally matched. Like I said, we've talked so much about Impunity, the home team here in Singapore, but Kraken are this unknown force from China, and the Chinese region has really come out and shown what it is worth in Vainglory this Worlds. They didn't perform as well last year, but 2017, China has been knocking it out the park.
Yeah, it's honestly astounding, especially from a team like Kraken, who are, we mentioned it before, I'm going to mention it again, they're relatively unknown. They came in as a little bit of a question mark. We knew how aggressive they could be, and they're kind of showing it right now. But Impunity were doing the same thing. They were playing their own game, and Kraken, in this game number 2, felt a little bit hindered for the first 15 minutes. Only 5 kills happened, and it felt like Impunity were just playing them at their own game, just making sure they kept them at bay, but it was just Kraken just being so aggressive that really turned the game around.
I think Araki makes a really good point, though. We talk so much about Kraken's aggression. We talk so much about how they have a wildly unchained early game. Haven't really seen that yet. We haven't really seen them go off like C9 does in the early game. And if you think that a team like C9, who are just incredibly precise, incredibly, I guess, clinical in the way they execute games, you've got a team like Kraken who are a little bit wavy, and then they don't quite get there until the late game. And they've been playing more towards this late game Celeste style. That's where a lot of their wins have come from. I don't know. I don't know whether this mismatch is going to be there. Maybe this storyline needs to stop about Kraken having this insane early aggression, because they just haven't quite shown that level of play, or there's a completely different style of play that we're seeing from them.
Well, maybe that was their secret weapon, showing that actually, okay, we're an early aggressive team, and then everybody kind of drafts around that and plays around that, and then go, actually, guess what? We can play super late game as well. But without further ado, jumping onto the fold for game number 3 is one apiece thus far. Impunity over on the red, and Kraken, this time, they're over on the blue.
If we get to a point where this is even, DefQ hits level 8 and he gets his items behind him, I think Impunity are in a really, really good spot. Arden currently has a 100% win rate in this series, by the way. So, you know, maybe...
Kraken doing what they haven't really done over the last couple of games, which is just prioritize this Elder Tree, sending 3 members down. Babalat did secure it. Impunity not really willing to mess with a Petal and a Rona in the early game. Petal being such a monster, and like you mentioned, Team Kraken picking up the Rona once again. Celeste and Rona just seem to be his wheelhouse. He can play this late game scaling mage, or he can play this Bruise that just jumps in and tries to annihilate the carry ASAP.
Yeah, I think I've been more impressed with his Celeste than I have his Rona. But there definitely is this opportunity, I think, for Team Kraken, especially once they get maybe their first spikes, the Sorrow Blade and the Serpent's Mask and whatever first item Babala chooses. Then they can look to try and execute, put some pressure in lane. Especially before Blackfeather hits level 8. I think that's an area where we need to see Team Kraken look to exploit. And Iraqi, you know, correctly identified, they haven't really done that so far across any of their games.
They're going to rotate towards the lane. This is going to be a tough time for Muir, especially against Greasy. But he does have the Lyra for the healing. And the minion candy is going to get used as well, something we see all too often. And that does lead Team Kraken actually down to the Elder Tree, and we'll see our first small engagement, but that'll be Impunity this time around, taking that Elder Tree. And Mr. Dog in a lot of trouble, actually. He had to actually pop the flask at that moment in time to make sure he stays alive. You can see Babalat trampolining away. In fact, he's even more trouble here. Impunity might just be able to pick up first blood if Team Kraken aren't careful. There's Quarterfinals. They're trying to get the kill over. They do. DefQ scores first blood.
Yeah, and they did see Petal head towards their backs. They have got the scout trap that showed that. So what if DefQ is going to do is try and clear out the jungle the same way and take his backs away from Babala as well. So a good response by DefQ, but also a great response from Babala. He knew that that was a lost situation. Moa takes so much damage there, but as does Kisi. Kisi also rotated heavily out of lane here, so has to sort of catch up in CS. Mua took a long time to catch up to that heavily pushed wave. He's going to rotate down now. Maybe DefQ gets caught out here.
Maybe he does, yeah. Mua is actually popping the flask preemptively. DefQ's in a lot of trouble over the wall from the into the fray. There's the mortal wounds to stop that healing from that flask. Wrong place, wrong time. DefQ doesn't quite take him out. Mua finally managed to pick that one up. In fact, Babala picking the first one up for Team Kraken.
But good push there by the Impunity roster means that Mua's going to lose a little bit to the turret. Heading towards that Poison Shiv early on. Super impactful versus Serpent's Mask, super impactful versus Lyra. It's pretty much a must-have on the Vox at this point in time. Not that you'd really go many other items on Vox to begin with, but obviously has mega efficiency versus this Team Kraken lineup.
Right now, where will we see Creasy really prioritize in that case? Obviously, he's probably going for the Poison Shiv like you mentioned, but what will he go after that?
Probably the standard Vox build, I imagine. This is one of those games where you're probably going to need 2 defensive items, so you're going to go for the Poison Shiv into the breaking point, then maybe into something like the Bone Saw or the Sorrow Blade, depending on the itemization defensively that Team Kraken pick up. What's more interesting is we're going to see DefQ go for that, what appears to be the Aftershock build on the Blackfeather, the CP Blackfeather Aftershock build, which means he's expecting to duel a little bit earlier on. He's happy to take more close-range duels, and it's going to be more effective when Team Kraken dive in, as opposed to going for something like the Shatterglass, which gives you that option post-level 8 to hit huge damage with your poke.
Something we need to look at here is actually Impunity's use of this minion candy. Creasy popped it in the lane, so Mua and Mr. Dog just couldn't instantly clear the wave out. He was then able to rotate down to the item shop, pick up that Poison Shiv as his first item, and now is rotating back up to the top to the top side of the map here, meaning that Mr. Dog and Babala have to actually rotate because they don't have a minion candy of their own.
You should be a color caster, mate.
Oh, thanks, mate.
that was pretty apt a description of the way that they're using minion candy. Yeah, they're using it to just prevent early clear of that lane, allowing them to stop that jungle without losing too much pressure on their own turret. So yeah, agreed. Completely good use of the minion candy here by Impunity, and it's something that we've seen a little bit of at Worlds. I actually thought we'd see more minion candy than we have at Worlds so far, but Impunity are one of the teams that have been using it quite well.
Maybe that's the key to the success, especially in this early game laning phase. Creasy now putting a lot of damage down to that turret, but you've got to be careful. Who has got that Serpent's Mask online, but with the early itemization choice from Creasy, we are going to see that healing cut in half. And in fact, everybody's got a bit of healing on Team Kraken's kit. Got to keep that in mind. That spontaneous combustion as soon as Babala hits that level 6, and obviously the sigil coming up from Mr. Dog as well.
Breaking Point looks like it's going to be next for Creasy. No surprises there. That's the standard Vox build that we see pretty much in most Voxes. Whether he goes then for a double defensive build, the fact that he's got some armor would suggest that it will be a double defensive build. You very, very rarely neglect a reflex block, although realistically, what do you want to reflex?
Oh, Mua goes in really aggressively. That bulwark doesn't quite connect either. Wait for it, will come out. Will only silence Mr. Dog. Impunity don't really want to follow that one up whatsoever. Mua showing that he really wants to punish Creasy for every move he makes. In fact, using that into the fray to actually get on top of DefQ. But they are just going to be able to back off. However, Creasy taking a lot of damage. In fact, DefQ using that Rose offensive defensively this time around.
Now that I mention it though, what would you actually want to reflex block from Team Kraken? There's nothing that you need to realistically actually use the block for apart from the shield potentially, so therefore Crucible is not so important as nor is reflex block. We've got to fight.
Oh, cool. Mr. Dog sent extremely low. Use that sigil to get out of there. Already that poison shiv doing wonders. As you can see, they all have to back off. That sigil healed next to nothing.
A lot of damage coming out from Babala. He's gone for the Dragon's Eye first, which is one of the items that's a bit easier to stack for the Petal. Just use those Munions, they stack that Dragon's Eye for you. They can get massive spontaneous combustions, especially at this point in the game. That's a good stop there by Mua.
Mua read that like a book, and it actually forces Creasy here to actually stay in the lane as well.
Yeah, and they're going to push this lane pretty hard too, so Creasy's going to have to be very careful about where he rotates to. Just going to get the healing tree on and come back, I think.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense. He's done just that, Excalibur. You should be in color caster.
Oh, thanks, mate.
It's all right. No worries. Just one apiece there. That's something big to kind of talk about also. Impunity looks so dominant in day number 1, as did Kraken, who came up against G2. But now we're in a best of 5 situation. It's no longer best of 2s. However, Goldmine is going to get started up. Impunity is going to rotate downwards. In fact, they know Creasy's in the lane. If they burst down this quick enough, DefQ might not have an Edgewards in. Does use that Rose offensive bit, and he steals it as well. Big gold boon for them. 400 apiece. He paid for it with his life. But Impunity find the gold miner.
He was calculating that out. The problem now that for Impunity is they've just used the fountain kind of unnecessarily. I think the Black Feather was dead regardless, and they don't have a fountain to defend this turret, and it looks like that's what Team Kraken wants. They're going in hard for this first turret.
Oh, they have to at this point. DefQ has spawned, using that red mist to try and clear that turret. Big silence, big gauntlet, but the Crucible is going to be there to get the block. Oh, Babala blocked the initial stun, but now is in a lot of trouble. Creasy is going to be able to follow him up. The sigil's there. He has to double back. Creasy finds the kill, and they're going to be able to jump onto Mua as well if they're not careful. DefQ going underneath the turret. Forces Mr. Dog actually to use the flask there as well. Turret's going to go down rather rapidly. Also, Impunity with a smart rotation is going to be able to secure it also. Mua is going to be in the front line, takes the brunt of the damage. There's the red beast to try and get up a healing, but he has to use the into the fray to get out of the fight. DefQ's in a lot of trouble. Sigil only just saving Mua, but they managed to trade 1 for 1.
Gonna back out here. Don't know if there's anything left on the map here for Team Kraken to get easily. They could potentially go for that healing tree on, for the Crystal Sentry, but I don't think they're going to be in a good enough position. I think DefQ will be up and available to defend that. Interesting that Quarterfinals has chosen to go for the Crucible. Maybe just simply to bolster his, or bolster up his Vanguard, because there's not really anything, like I said, that you particularly want to block. There's no major impact abilities, there's no hard CC coming out from Team Kraken. So, you know, I might have been considering prioritizing Echo or War Treads over the Crucible, but the Crucible does give you that extra shield across the team that can be very useful against sort of splash damage, AoE damage. Petal provides that, Rona provides that, so often that brings a little bit extra to the table. So that's probably the thinking for Quarterfinals. And obviously, like I said, the health that it provides makes his Vanguard that bit better.
Unless he wants to go for Slumbering Husk, obviously for the HP as well. But exactly. Passageway into the Bright Bulwark. Mr. Dog does go for the entry. Look at the damage onto Creasy. He's still alive for the time being, but the Red Mist does find him. And in fact, Spontaneous Combustion finishes him off. DefQ now trying to fight 1v3, but a double kill for Babala will find himself winning the team fight. And now be Team Kraken now rotating towards the gold miner.
Wow, super aggressive from Team Kraken, instantaneously bursting out Creasy. Creasy has decided that he wants to prioritize a 3-item build over getting any form of real hard defense here. I would, really want that coat of plates finished as soon as possible. I think that's what he's going to spend his gold on this next buy. He's picked up the Bone Sword though, so he's looking for or expecting to play up against a lot of armor. Not a lot of armor to speak of right now apart from the base armor, so you're not going to get the maximum efficiency out of that item. Sora Blade would have been better right now, but this may be the long game play for Impunity, saying, well, we expect this game to go further, we expect this game to go to a point where we're facing up, especially when Rona, a metal jacket, and that's where obviously the Bone Sword is going to come into use.
Right now, QC is having a lot of trouble in these fights. However, he's been jumped on more often than not. The Rona delivery system using that passageway just knocks on the door of Impunity, and it is very hard for him to actually dance backwards. He's got one Sonic Zoom in him. Obviously, can pop the boots also, but the problem is if that Vanguard's used on DefQ to kind of keep alive, who's also in the front line, haven't got that to use later on. However, he is going towards that Echo, so that will be available soon.
One of the great things about Lyra into Arden is the Bright Bulwark. It stops Arden using any of his abilities. Vanguard is considered a movement skill. Blood for Blood is considered a movement skill. Gauntlet is considered a movement skill. None of them can be used while Bright Bulwark is active. So if you portal onto the Vox and Bright Bulwark, Arden can't protect him at all.
Look at Team Kraken here going for the flank. That's a big corner, locks them all in place. But will it matter? Into the phrase used, but Red Mist is not going to really find anybody. Greasy is still dodging around the fight. The first initial frag lands onto Pamela. Greasy still diving and dodging and finds the kill onto Mua. They find the follow-up ace as well. The crowd explodes and Impunity are going to shove this lane in.
Again, the great Gauntlet from Quarterfinals. He also held on to all of his skills. Great kiting out by Kisi to get out of the Bright Bulwark, as well as Quarterfinals to make sure they could use that Vanguard. Let's take a look at that again. Initially, this is the idea that they want every single time, but the Gauntlet stopped the Bright Bulwark having the effect, so I think that meant that Quarterfinals could actually get in and use that Vanguard. He then obviously, great timing of the Fountain, great Gauntlet to stop that engage from the Rona. Rona got stuck in her place, allowing Kisi to reposition and start that kiting process. There's Bone Sword stacking up, and that's where the Vox becomes really, really good.
It just, the way the Gauntlet was placed as well, just left no room for Kraken to actually move.
Maybe that's why they want the Gauntlet. They just want to block the Bright Bulwark. That now makes sense to me. That is the only ability that shuts down this kiting process from Impunity. Maybe they just need it for that.
They're on the corridor again. No Gauntlet available. There's the into the fray. Creasy's in a little bit of trouble. Vanguard to help him out for the time being. There's mortal wounds cutting through Mua. Can't heal up. A Sigil does though. It's DefQ does jump in once again. Big silence from the wait for it, but no additional follow-up damage from Impunity. But look how far they're having to play back now, and DefQ is really starting to hurt with those on points.
The whole Impunity roster is going for an elongated team fight style of build. You've got the Dragon's Eye on the CP Blackfeather. He's looking for longer fights to get more of that finishing damage off after the 9 seconds. Journey Boots prioritized by Kisi over any form of armor. He's looking to just escape and then reposition, find that position on Rona once she's used her gap closes. Rona's going to face check.
You have to be fairly careful with that one. Mortal Wound just chunking in. There's the passageway into the Bright Bulwark. The Ronin delivery system knocking on the doors. Impunity in a lot of trouble, but Creasy popping the boost. Kites back, and they pick up the kill. They ignore DefQ completely. Passageway followed through yet again. DefQ still sticking onto Mr. Dog. Creasy's going to be here as well. A double kill for DefQ, and Kraken not yet available, so it will be a gold mine for Impunity.
Forget what I said earlier, Quarterfinals. Forget what I said about maybe Crucible not needing to be used. You're a genius. You're a genius. You're the mad scientist for a reason. Unbelievable how they're able to adapt and play around one of those major pinpoint win conditions for the Kraken team. That Bright Bulwark shuts Arden down. Quarterfinals knows it's important to have the immediate Gauntlet and the immediate Vanguard when he needs it after that Bright Bulwark, as well as Kisi having the ability to just move his way without hindrance out of that area. Impunity, you're doing yourself and your region proud right now.
Hasn't got the Echo online, however. Oh, he does. I'm completely blind. Ignore me. Ignore me completely, Excalibur. But look how aggressive Impunity are now playing. They can be. Actually going to take this Crystal Sentry as well. It will be reduced to 1 life. Now, Mr. Dog looks for an engagement here. He's positioning to do so. Trampoline forward from Baba, but look at DefQ already sending Mua to about half HP. Queasy activating the boost as well, providing the front line for Team Impunity. Just sends Team Kraken packing.
Yeah, Team Kraken, they need to find the instant engage. They need to do almost the Cloud9-esque thing. Just pinpoint everybody onto a target, everybody of the same mind.
Creasy goes for the flank here. Look at the aggression. The Gauntlet stuns 2. Passageway out, but Mr. Dog is sent so low. Fountain to heal them all up. And into the fray, still on top of Creasy, but they've got their eyes on Mr. Dog. Bavala He's going to trampoline away yet again. Impunity are in the base of Team Kraken. They're going to have to be fairly careful. DefQ and QC should be able to get out of this one alive. Darting backwards, Sonic Zoom, but look at the damage down to Moore. Out of the fray used to get out of danger. Spontaneous combustion forces the fountain out of Impunity.
They'll be able to back off here. That was a risky situation. Team Kraken aren't quite done yet, though. Babala wants to continue this pressure.
Yeah, they are following up, and the Kraken is available here. Impunity not quite ready to start that one up. DefQ was fairly low, but just used it for the movement. And now Team Kraken, actually. Babala might be committing to this one here. Dog is actually trying to stop the recalls. You see marching forward, but Creasy not being able to do all too much right now. They have to wait for DefQ in this situation, actually. Babala lets the Kraken reset.
Full build coming out for Vox now. Infusions are there. Just needs one for Mua. Mua's probably going to be farming up for that next infusion. Going to be super important to have that for the next fight. Going to get those lane minions, head towards the jungle shop. This Kraken fight will be explosive. It seems that Impunity has found the recipe to deal with what Kraken are throwing at them. But Kraken, again, just need that one pin-perfect engage, take out that Vox and win this fight.
There's the passageway into the bulwark. Yet again, Rona delivery system straight on top of Queasy. The gauntlet separates them. This is perfect. Mr. Dog sent extremely low, has to back out of the fight initially. But Queasy just stacking up that breaking point, already on 10 stacks, sorry. Quarterfinals going fairly low as well, but they're just going to clean house. And the house explodes as well. Mua is going to fall, and Impunity find the ace as their crowd erupts once again.
Impunity absolutely understand how to deal with the one win condition that Kraken have. They dive in on the Vox. They didn't get enough of that advantage in the early game. And again, it's what Iraqi Zoro said. Kraken, we've talked so much about this team that's supposed to be early aggression, supposed to be unhindered and unfiltered aggression. They just haven't shown us that at the World Championship. The times that they've won is when they've played the late game, when they've played Celeste. And Impunity seem to have them trumped when it comes to mid-game and also tactical play around these team fights too.
You call him a mad scientist for a reason. The gauntlets have just been absolutely Herculean.
Beautiful, every single time. Arden has been 100% win rate this series. If this is going to be an Impunity win, it's looking like it's stacking up that way. Obviously, there's still the chance for a Team Kraken turnaround, but Arden has been a massive impact across all of these games.
Well, same situation. Impunity were in last game with the Kraken only standing between two turrets and that crystal. Now Team Kraken are going to have to back off. They are a little bit chunked out from the Vox. But they're just going to have to protect this Kraken now as it does march on.
And DefQ yesterday showed us how good he is at this CP Blackfeather. He was amazing yesterday on that particular pick. Here we go.
Passageway of the Bright Bulwark, trampoline forward from Babala. He's in a good situation right now. Wait for it will come out. It does end up getting blocked, I believe. But look at Babala's health bar falling. DefQ is left completely alone on the back line, forces the petal away. Kraken takes one turret. There's the gauntlet separating Mr. Dog. And Moore is just sent so low. No healing from the Serpent's Mask. Sentences him back to base. And that'll be DefQ jumping on the petal. Babala retreats. Spontaneous combustion for the heal. But this could very well be a 2-1 victory for Impunity here. If they can find this game, they'll be sent to match point as well. They're going to go onto the crystal. Can Mr. Dog and Babala do anything? I don't think so. As Impunity a match point, one win away from proceeding to tomorrow.
And the crowd cheers.